Welcome back for Dev Diary number 6. We changed our microphones again. Let's hope everything works and we can all be heard. I'm joined by somebody new this week. This is Shivam, one of our software engineers. I didn't get a fancy title for him, but he's a pretty fancy guy. Is there a fancier title for you than software engineer?
No, I guess that's my job title. So.
Okay. Well, for anyone who doesn't know, he fixes lots of stuff, and he's a pretty all-around good dude. The last few days, we've been in meeting after meeting because we've been discussing kind of the future outlook of the game, which is what we're going to take you through a bit of today.
Yep.
But overall, one second, someone's staring at me. No, it's fine. I think it's fine. Are we fine?
Yeah, I hope
we're fine. I don't know if we're fine. Anyway, overall, you've kind of seen the patch notes for yesterday. We changed our patch day, in case you didn't realize, in case 4.7 gigabytes wasn't enough of a hint. Sorry about that. That was some optimizations for the forest taking up the bulk of that.
Yep, it was forest optimizations, and I think there's a few new settings like motion blur and a few bug fixes here and there.
Yeah, you added back motion blur, right?
Yeah, motion blur.
Yeah, so you can actually toggle that on and off now.
I think currently actually there's a bug with it.
You just said you guys weren't streaming.
Wait, what?
What? We're definitely streaming. I'm like 99% sure we're live. Let me just actually check. I'm... One sec. I love setting things up really late. It makes me feel good about myself when none of them work. Offline?
Offline?
We're not offline. No, we're definitely not offline.
Not offline.
Damn you, random user. Now you made me waste. That's just awkward. Okay, so where was I? Right. So, this week's patch, we did a bunch of optimization stuff with Forest. We changed some rocks. Carlos spent the week staring at rocks. After we brought him on here, we basically just put rocks in front of him all week. He probably hates his life a little bit right now. But hooray for Carlos, he's made that a whole lot better. You should notice FPS improvements in the forest and that kind of stuff after yesterday's update. But I haven't stolen Shivam from his immensely busy schedule, and it is an immensely busy schedule, trust me, because I saw them scheduling it just to talk about rocks that he didn't make. So the last couple of days we had these dev meetings. I sat in on them. I was falling asleep in one of them, quite obviously. But for the most part, they were pretty interesting, and we spoke mainly about kind of the future of the game.
Yeah.
Right. So beyond traps, which we're still hoping to do next week.
Yeah, they should be.
Traps should be next week.
Next week's patch.
And beyond the couple little things that we did this week, and beyond the Arctic map, which we're still hoping to do at the start of the month.
Yeah, I think that's...
Which is a mouthful of stuff to begin with anyway. But beyond that, we talked about a lot of stuff that we want to do with the game that makes it feel more polished and more of a pleasure to play.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, like this week, for example, there should be headshots going into the game for not just people using the pack. It should be overall. Headshots should do a bit more damage overall. There's things like fixes to how the aiming down sights work.
Yeah, we made it line up properly.
Yeah,
right.
so that should actually be live currently, but if not, there's more fixes coming this week with that because
I think we put
have
that live, but one of the animations between it didn't go.
Yeah, one of the transition
something
animations.
like that. Yeah. So your crosshairs should now line up a lot closer to where you're actually aiming, which feels good because if anyone is, trying to be like a Counter-Strike pro in the game or something, it might be nice if your bullets go where you're trying to shoot them.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's one of the things we got in this week, but. Overall, kind of the overarching theme for the stuff we're tacking on with the upcoming map, with the traps and everything, is around making the game feel more like what you'd expect a modern game to feel like.
Yep.
So not in the sense of we're going to make loads of weird SMGs or anything strange and stupid like that, but more in the sense of, like you said, headshots will be a thing. There'll still be the perk to increase that, but there's going to be like a small multiplier for actually getting them. Yeah. We're changing a little bit about the way terrors work and the camera interacts with them and stuff like that as well.
So, do you want me to go in more
detail?
No,
you can go through that. Okay. You can go through that.
So with the terror changes, I think Overall, it's to make the Terror feel more fluid, I guess, as when you're playing it as a user. And we're also reworking how the camera interacts with the Terror a bit. Yeah. So it's not just going to be a straight up complete white screen for whenever you get hit by the camera. It's
gonna be, it'll still be pretty disorientating.
Yeah, it'll still stop you from being able to just kill everyone, but it should be a lot less frustrating when you play as a Terror to get hit by a camera, especially if it's one that's really far away, because currently you can still be hit by a camera quite far away and you'll still be blinded for whereas it's like a second now, or 1.5 seconds or something like that. So I think that's going to scale based on distance. Also things like the amount of damage the camera does, I think we might be taking another look at that. I'm not too sure exactly on the numbers of what we're going to do with that. But Terror's also going to be a bit more tankier, so they can probably take, I think, an extra camera shot, but I'm still not sure on the numbers for that.
Okay, so the overarching thing here for the Terror was basically that we wanted it to feel more terrifying, essentially.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
We wanted to tweak the way the game worked, kind of extend those chase sections, have that be a little bit more rewarding, force the innocents to maybe team play a little bit more and try and defend each other a little bit more, and just kind of make little changes that feel like one big change, where it changes the feel of the Terror, so that it makes the Terror kind of have this more stalking kind of coming at you type thing. Like you said, a little bit tankier and so on, so you're not necessarily going to just gun them down straight away.
Yeah, currently it can feel a bit crappy as a Terror to just get you can some players can 1v1 Terrors currently, and I don't think that's what we ever intended.
It's not really intended, no.
Yeah.
They're not going to be like the Terminator or anything, they're not going to just come at you relentlessly and never die.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we didn't want them to kind of just go, oh look, an instant, and get flashed, and have that be kind of the end of that whole chase. We want it to be a little bit more of an adrenaline rush than that. And
also
obviously
encourage team play with.
Yeah, and encourages team play as well. And the reason why we're doing that is because we're actually changing the way the dark period in the game works. So what we're doing, without going massively into detail, because we haven't even put together a test build for this yet, this is how in its infancy this idea is. Basically, we wanted to have stuff to do in the dark, right? That was the main thing.
So people don't just clump around doors and wait for ages for the door for the night period to be over and then just go upstairs. Yeah. So, do you want me to go through?
We can go through it a little bit. Okay. Yeah, sure. Why not? Right.
So I think the initial idea is there are going to be fuses that fall from the ceiling, and depending on the floor, you have to collect a different number of fuses, and each fuse that you collect is then you put that into a fuse box and use that to then activate the door and be able to open it. And once the door's open, I think the dark period's over, but I think that's still something that needs to be decided. But anyway, this is done so we can give the player something to do during the dark period, because currently you just wait around a bit around then. So the idea is, I think on the ground floor it's something like there's 3 fuses, there's 7 fuses that fall in total, and you have to collect 3 of them and put them into the door, into the fuse box, and then the door will open after that. So using that, hopefully people will enjoy the dark period a bit more.
Yeah, so it's like a few different sections to the game now, rather than just necessarily being like collect stuff, wait, go into the next section, collect stuff again. Yeah. So there's going to be this kind of room to collect stuff and kind of prepare yourself a little bit. There'll be a longer dark period where you have an objective to do, where you need to try and sort of work together, try and scavenge the stuff to get you through to the next area and try and get that dark period to end. Excuse me. And for the Terrors, then being a little bit tankier but a little bit slower and so on, and having more of an interesting sort of chase mechanic feeds into that by there'll be reason for you to be out and doing stuff in the dark, and the counterplay is that they're going to want to stop you doing it. So everyone's going to want to go through to the next section, but there'll be a lot more opportunity to try and hunt people down and try and isolate people and so on in the dark period, which is, like I say, going to be a little bit longer innately, but it's going to be ended by you finishing those objectives, which will feel a lot better, like you say, than standing around near a door and waiting for X amount of time to pass and hoping to not die, which is kind of just super boring at the moment, the way that is.
I mean, if some players will have known from early access, I think it was in early access anyway, we had the key mechanic before, but this should hopefully make you rely less on one person getting the key, and instead this builds all the innocents will have to work together. Well, they won't have to work together, but it encourages them.
It would be better if you did.
Yeah, it definitely works better for you if you work together.
So we didn't want to go back to the key mechanic because for anyone who remembers it, the original key mechanic was a little bit frustrating if one inexperienced player maybe got it, or someone who didn't really know what to do with it. So it's in a similar sense, but there is multiple of them. There's more of them than you need to finish the objective. So in the worst case, if someone they've got a fuse, you're at the circuit breaker, you're missing a fuse still, they're not putting it in for whatever reason, they don't understand, they don't want to, whatever it is, you can just kind of go and get another one. So there's a lot of team play there, but at the same time, it's a lot more difficult for one person to kind of lock the rest of the team out of doing the objective, which we think is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, before you also had to finish all the objectives on the floor before you could get the key.
Yeah.
So this should hopefully, obviously in this case, that won't be the case. So
yeah. So it's one part of a multifaceted change to add a bit more content into the game and mix it up a little bit so that you aren't, like we say, just in these collects into survive for a little while into collect again, kind of like two-phase thing. Where we make we break up those phases a little bit, make them a little bit more interesting. So that should be good. The other stuff, like we said, was making the game feel more polished and more like a modern game should feel. So we looked at a bunch of games that we all individually play in our own time, games we've played before we came here, games we still play, whatever it is. So anything as revolutionary at the time as Half-Life to modern shooters like CSGO and so on. And we looked at how how you interact with different things, how things interact with you in those games. So we had a lot of meetings the last couple of days. What is it? Maybe 5-6 hours we spent talking.
Maybe
it was a pretty long time. And we decided on some stuff where we feel like it should be in the game. So stuff like better understanding of where you're being shot from. Even though the gunplay isn't a core part of the gameplay, because the game is more about deception and so on, we still do want that part of the game to feel smooth. It shouldn't feel like it's just sort of tacked on. At the moment where it hasn't really panned out entirely, where there's a few things missing like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was one of the things.
Yeah, hit indicators.
Hit indicators and that kind of thing, right? We talked about...
there were a few other changes to do with like when you pick up ammo, and so like sometimes it just doesn't reload, I think.
And then sometimes it magically reloads as well, right?
Reloads, yeah, things like that we'll just fix because they're just
I think
annoying.
we gave that to you, right? So you're going to be making it so that when they have... Was it Joel you gave it to? Okay, well, basically when you pick up ammo at the moment, you end up in a really awkward situation where sometimes it just kind of magically appears in your gun. Not really sure where in real life that happens.
I think it was done intentionally, but it's something we're just going to look at again.
Yeah.
Things like that, just to make it feel better.
Yeah, it feels cooler if we would rather you have a sort of speedy reload moment than it just kind of magically materializing in your gun and that being it, right? Yeah. So there's stuff like that.
I guess another thing to mention is the health change. Yeah. Where you don't regen health automatically and have to pick up health packs.
Yeah, so one of the things we were looking at as well was rather than having you just magically regen health, possibly adding health kits into the game as one of the other kind of new consumables that will be dotted around. where you can use those to regain some health. We're not really sure how we want to do those just yet. I think at the moment we're thinking of just making them just a straight pickup, right?
Pick up and it just heals you.
Yeah. Okay, so there's that as well. But it's just like more mechanics like that kind of round out the gameplay has been the focus of this week with what we're looking at adding on alongside these obviously big changes like traps in the new map and so on. Those changes might seem quite minor, but when you look at them in the context of the new map, they'll be really quite cool, because one of the things you were doing was the area triggers for lights, right?
On the new map, yeah.
Yeah, so on the new map, for anyone who missed last week when we went through it in more detail, there'll be some areas where lights will come on if you go in there, and they'll go off after a short amount of time if you're not being in there. So one of the changes that interacts with that is name tags are going to alpha out based on distance, right? So if you're really far away, you won't see the player's name tag. So I would see Shivam here, but if he was like out there in the next room, I would maybe just see a guy kind of doing stuff. Maybe he's drinking blood, maybe he's not, maybe he's acting suspicious, maybe he's not, right? And I wouldn't necessarily be able to see his name.
Yeah.
So it's more like you're getting fed little bits of information. It's like, oh, it's an Alex. Okay, what was he wearing? I can't remember. Oh no, what did he do? Where did he go?
I guess that'll also help in the forest, like when some people just go up on top of rocks and look at the whole map to see who's drinking blood bags.
Yeah, exactly, right? So it will feel awesome for the forest as well, so you can't really kind of do that eyes in the sky magic vision thing that some people like to do, which we've shut down a lot of recently anyway, but it is sort of the final nail in the coffin for that, we think.
Probably.
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to make the deceit mechanics a lot more open to be used.
Yeah.
We're also looking at adding something to make blood bag to possibly give people a reason to lie about blood bags, but we didn't really come to a conclusion on that yet, did we?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
No. So there's a lot of things like that where it's going to make the game feel more deceptive. It's going to make the game feel more responsive, awesome, and modern to actually play.
Things like blood splats.
Blood splats was another one, right? That's what you're working on right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
Is just to make sure blood decals show up where if you get shot near a wall, stuff like that. It just gives it another level of, say, polish maybe. But yeah, just another level of realism, I guess, to the game.
Yeah, it's a good feeling though. It is like it's a million small things that make it feel like a finished proper game, rather than something where it's kind of a bunch of mechanics tacked together to test.
Yeah.
So alongside that, obviously we're still doing bug fixes. We're still optimizing things. People are still making different things for the map, like new cosmetic assets, new assets for the map itself. There'll potentially be some new assets for the stuff with the night period once we're done with that. I mean, there's going to have to be something for the users and so on anyway.
Yeah.
All those are going to have fancy animations when they're ready, and so on and so on. But all of this stuff just makes the game feel better, we think, overall. Yeah. So yeah, that's kind of been the focus for this week. Perhaps not as interesting as delving into CryEngine editor last week and looking at everything being broken and all the replace me's and everything. But yeah, it needed to be done. It's something we've kind of ignored for way too long. So we're doing that alongside all the upcoming stuff, like, again, traps next week.
Traps next week, yep. And hopefully a crash fix next week.
Yes, more crash fixes.
More crash fixes, cool. And probably some more bug fixes will go in as well next week.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that's basically it. So let's blast through some Q&A.
Yeah, sure.
And then we're sort of done for the week, I guess. So I'm going to grab this handy dandy laptop. And pretty much just ask us anything for the next, like, maybe 15 minutes or so. I don't want to steal too much dev time away from you.
That's fine, yeah.
So I know you're probably super busy anyway. But yeah, I think it's a little bit cut and dry, but let's, if anyone has any questions they want to ask us, now's the time. Shoot, we'll answer them. So updates for doors. What are the updates for doors? Are there any new changes?
Doors as in just the... Oh, so like just in, like, for example, the asylum.
I think so, yeah. So I think...
I do know for the other map, the Arctic map, we're going to have doors that open automatically when you walk near them and close after you walk through them.
Yeah, they're the proximity trigger ones, right?
Proximity
That's going to be quite
doors.
cool. I think they mean in Asylum you can kind of spam doors a little bit.
Right.
So you can run away, kind of spamming
I think
doors.
the ideal thing we want there is you don't actually press E to open the door and you just walk through the door and it just like opens for you, or like sort of like collides with you as you walk through it.
Yeah,
but
so then you just
it's
kind of
something
walk
we
into
need
the door
to, you still need to look into. But it is something that we are aware of is a problem, and I think we do want to fix it.
This again feeds into that more polished feel,
Yeah.
so it's something that it falls under that umbrella quite well actually, where it's there at the moment and it sort of works most of the time, but the times it doesn't really work correctly, it kind of sucks. So either, like you say, just running into it or adding a cooldown to it after it's been opened and closed so many times, something like that, where you can't just kind of like use a door as the ultimate defense. You know, if the terror is supposed to be this amazing bioengineered super weapon thing, and it's thwarted by a wooden door, it's probably not the kind of... It's probably not what we're going for. So yes, we hear you on the doors. We still hear you on the doors. It's going to get brought up. It's probably a good thing you reminded us for that, though, I think.
Actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think I will acknowledge that it's a good thing you reminded that, because we've been so focused on a whole bunch of stuff that I think that might have slipped through otherwise. So that's cool. Thank you for bringing that one up. Shivam, you are my hero. Notice me, senpai.
Who's that?
It's actually Osti.
Oh, right.
He thinks he can hide behind this name. It's just Osti. Just torment him when we get back into the Discord, you know.
Yeah.
So, are there also any fixes being released for the visual bug with the Easter egg event screen? That's the Easter eggs resetting the count client side thing.
Yes, but I think the Easter event does end soon. It ends on the 30th of April.
Yeah,
So
I think
that's,
so.
I think that's next week on Sunday.
That
so we should
is, next
I
Sunday.
think I have a feeling we're probably going to fix that for this patch as well. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It might even go in before, depending on how it fits in.
Yeah.
This is a really weird situation where the event is interesting, but fixing that becomes quite a minor thing. So yeah, we should fix it. We would like to fix it. It depends how it fits in schedule-wise. If it delays something actually big and important, then no. But most likely, yes.
I think it's most likely
yes.
fixed,
yeah. So I hope that's cool. Really, we shouldn't have to pick up X items. We really shouldn't have a pick up X items event again. It causes a lot of inexperienced people to just cause problems.
So what's the problem?
I guess I don't know. Without seeing kind of the problems being caused, I watched a lot of streams while we've been working outside of the meetings and stuff, and for the most part, it's been kind of okay. So we've seen most users kind of just stumble across Easter eggs and go, "Huh, an Easter egg," and that's about it.
They are quite easy to find, aren't they?
Yeah, they're just kind of everywhere. So it shouldn't really. You don't actually need to go and hunt for them. They should kind of just appear around you.
Yeah, you should get a decent amount. Well,
they continually just say people do not do objectives. Maybe I'm a minority. I think you're always going to have weird occasions where strange things happen, and when those strange things suck, you do get a bit of a confirmation bias for seeing it suck more often.
What's the question there?
It's just the Easter eggs, and people maybe looking for Easter eggs more than pulling levers and stuff. But they should just spawn. For anyone who's doing this, they basically just spawn around you the same way ammo does. So you can kind of just go and do the objectives, and Easter eggs will happen naturally. You don't need to necessarily hunt them out to that. degree.
Ideally, we don't repeat this same event. Anyway,
no, we're not.
So,
we're not. Yeah, exactly. Going to be looking to repeat the exact same event anyway. Yeah. But an Easter egg hunt is kind of a traditional Easter thing, and it was something where we could implement it quite well. So, well, for the most part.
And hopefully, it shouldn't be taken away from the rest of the game. But I guess we will take that feedback into account. Then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is something we
Quick question from Shu. What was the reason for the white skull on the inspection kit for Innocence? Why not a white rabbit? I don't know. That's probably more of a you question. You've been here longer than me.
As far as I'm aware, it was the skull to mean human and the
Biohazard thing.
Biohazard sign for infected.
Yeah.
I think we are changing colours on that anyway, or like icon.
We talked about
colours.
making it green because green is like universally seen as, it must be good kind of thing, right?
Yeah, so I think currently they currently both have a green background, and it's the white skull for the innocent and red biohazard symbol for the terror or infected. I think we are changing colours or changing that screen anyway.
Make it a little bit more clear.
The inspection kit screen, yeah.
But it does obviously give you feedback in the chat anyway. It's not like it's the most unclear thing in the world.
And we're changing the colour on that as well.
On the feedback in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's great as well.
I think it's going to become compatible.
When will you implement the Portuguese language in the game? The translation is done. Translations are a little bit slow this week, simply because Jord is away. He is seeing his family, which I assume are as mythical as he is. Haven't met them yet, but yeah, he's away at the moment, which is why there's no Jord today.
Yeah, Jord normally deals with translations.
He deals with translations primarily, so you can DM me on Discord or Twitter or anything like that if you have any problems with your translation stuff, and I'll see what I can do for you. But that whole Google Doc thing is kind of headed up by Jord, simply because it's Jord who puts them into the game. So that does make things a little bit more delayed, but it should be Wednesday, I think.
Should be next Wednesday. So the next patch. Thursday, sorry.
Thursday, yeah, so Thursday. Yeah, and the reason we swap patches to Thursday is it gives us more time to test, and it means that if anything's broken, we're not home for the weekend, so we don't kind of have to either rush in or whatever. So there's more people around to potentially fix things, which is good. So yeah, have you thought about, for the infected team, making it so that one wins, the other one wins too? Only for the infected, not the innocent. Just a thought, this could have a reason to why you didn't do it this way. Oh, okay, so he means to ask, there's two infected, it's quite teamwork based, you know. Have we thought about making it so that maybe they both win if one of them wins? Potentially.
So I think the reason for this is if you die, you can just leave the game, and we want you to have instant feedback on to how that affects your score and your rank, your elo, whatever.
Right.
And there's other like perks and achievements tied into winning and losing. So if you're waiting for someone else to win, then you have to wait for the entire game to finish.
Yeah.
Before, or like everyone else to die. So if you're killed, you get instant feedback. But you do get a bonus mark and a bonus win if you win with both terrors anyway.
Yeah.
So it is recognised if both.
It's bonus if you both win.
Yeah, if you both
but
win.
At the moment, it's kind of tied to too many things.
At the moment, it's something that's hard to give good feedback on whether you win or lose, while still allowing you to leave the game and just continue playing into the next game. Because that's one of the things we want. We want you to be able to, as soon as you finish game, go into the next one without having to wait just for that whole game to finish. Because you could get voted out in the first round and you'd have to wait like 6 minutes or something.
Which would suck.
Which would suck, yeah.
Which would suck, right. Okay, so that's cool. Here's a good question, which I'll let you take, because this is a really, really easy answer that you can elaborate on if you want, or you can just say the one-word answer. Will there be an infected-only voice chat added in the future?
Yes, it's coming this week, I think. This next patch.
Next week? This week?
Next week.
Next week.
The next patch. Yeah.
Okay, so potentially yes, and on Thursday.
I think it's already been done, actually, or is in progress of being done.
Yeah, and along with that, actually, one of the things we didn't really cover when we were going through more patch philosophy stuff, there will be voice chat options.
Oh yeah.
Which is going to be really good. I'm not sure if
actually I'm going to correct
at the same time,
I'm not sure if the Terror Chat is going in next week, but it is being done, so it will be in a future patch. I'm not sure if it's exactly next week or it'll come with the big patch, with the new map and stuff.
The big season change, new map.
But it might be next week. But yeah, voice chat options, they're done. That's in now, so you can select your.
Yeah, so you'll be able to select microphone and output device.
I think currently it's just cool. Output device,
think so, yeah.
But I'll check and see whether we're doing input as well. But currently, if you do want to change your input, you can change it through Steam. You can't currently configure your output device without setting some like random settings in like, Windows, but it tries to use the default one. But currently, if you want to change your input settings, it's through Steam as far as I'm aware.
Right. Okay. But we're going to be adding that to the new game.
But yeah, we'll be adding
that into the game. Sorry, and that should be a whole lot of a neater way to do it. Again, this falls under that umbrella of things you sort of expect in a modern game. So we're making sure to add those so it doesn't feel weird. So I hope that's cool. Do the ranks reset monthly, or do they keep going forever? For anyone who's just joined us in Season 2, they do reset monthly. They will reset on May the 1st if everything goes ahead. We may delay that if we have to delay the rest of the patch. I think the plan is still to do it May the 1st. Everything is planned for May the 1st. So yes, they are typically monthly. This will continue, and there will be season stuff. And basically the way it works for anyone who wasn't there for the last season end, you get a bit of a reward based on where you were at last season. So the top 10 players get some cool stuff, that kind of thing. And you get a banner which denotes that for the next season. And you start at a slightly lower rank than 20, so you don't start from 20 again. So I think Elo starts from, is it 10 or something like that? I can't remember the exact
12,
number.
But I think it might depend on what Elo you are, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But you don't start from 20 again. You start from something based on your last season's rank.
Yeah. Will Terror Chat allow you to talk to Jord?
Jord is always a terror, so yes.
Jord is always a terror, so yeah, it's basically just hotline Jord, minus the dancing. Next week, new map? No, not next week, it's week after that.
Yeah.
So yeah, not next week, the week after for the map. Are they working on an Arctic map? Yes, if you missed it, check out last week's VOD. I awkwardly stole Carlos, and he took us into the CryEngine editor, and we looked at a bit of the map in progress, so we actually went in and looked at the whole not finished stuff. So if you missed it, check that out. It's pretty cool. It's also cool if anyone's doing game dev stuff to see a bit of CryEngine weirdness. Weird CryEngine weirdness. I don't know. Sewer map, maybe. Let's see. I was wondering, there's a way of hiding the fact that you're infected if one, for example, would be streaming. Yeah, we talked about adding something like that, but it was one of those things where we kind of need to overhaul the entire UI to have like a streamer-friendly UI. So potentially in the future, when we have a dedicated UI guy, it would be something we could potentially put in as a setting. But at the moment, no, I don't think so. Yeah,
it's quite hard to do that because still you have outlines to things that you normally wouldn't have. I guess we could disable it depending on whether you want it disabled or not.
Yeah. But like highlighting the other infected player for the team play element and so on is a bit sketch. I mean, that's a dead giveaway. So even though at the moment you could technically cover the biohazard symbol, that would kind of give you away a little bit. So yeah, hopefully we'll add something in the future, but not for now.
I think I did see there was someone saying that a streamer always has the infected symbol there for themselves.
Oh, they just always put it there. Yeah. So it's always, that's a good one, actually. But then again, I suppose that makes you more of a target.
Yeah, maybe.
But then I guess once people realize that it's always there, then, I don't know. Interesting stuff.
Yep.
Unofficially season 3, hashtag remember. Not really, what? When will there be a real life version of this game? I don't know. Our best scientists are on it. I don't know if any hacktivist journalists are out there. It's not us. When it all goes down, it's not us. We're gonna be like in Resident Evil. What are they called? Umbrella, right?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so. We're gonna be like Umbrella. Just some horrible thing. Maybe we can hire Mila Jovovich though, right? So that'd be cool. Cool, thanks. You went there for the police. There already people hit the yellow. That was a reset. Okay. A small update just went out to put The end of the Easter event on the main menu's Easter section. Oh, that's cool. So you should have a small update apparently that should have a date
Timer.
for the Easter ending.
I think it'll be a countdown.
So you can grind those Terra Bunny skins and get all of the coffee that you need to stay up for it. Don't do that. I cannot endorse it. So I think that probably pretty much wraps us up for this week. I don't want to steal any more dev time. We've answered a bunch of questions. We've gone through some philosophy stuff. Quick one, you're pretty much free to go if you want. But a quick one I just want to go through really fast because it keeps coming up this week is the way the reporting feature works. To tell a very, very abridged short version of it. Every report tells us about a user. Every user has a bit of a story. We look into those and we see what the appropriate action is. In some cases that takes a little bit longer. In some cases it's pretty obvious. If someone has hundreds of reports as one user did the other day, I think he managed to get 120 reports in a day, you will probably not see that user again. There's some other people who bought the game again after being banned once. They will just get banned again. It doesn't really bother me. You can keep buying it if you want and playing like 1 or 2 games, but you won't be here for very long when you do. And for people who essentially have, say, one bad game, or they may have some circumstance in real life that mitigates whatever, that's not a typical action for them to maybe swear at users, or they have a bad experience with one person repeatedly, and you might catch the one game where they are ticked off enough to react to that. It shouldn't really matter because of the fact that, like I say, every report tells us about a user and every user has a bit of a story, and we look into that story, and that is why we act on that. So there'll be a whole lot more bans and mutes going out soon now that we have some better tools on the back end that we've been developing to look at that. But you won't necessarily see every single person who does anything wrong always being banned forever and ever because they used a naughty word. I think I said in the community guidelines, code of conduct-y stuff, that common sense is kind of king. I stand by that, but at the same time, I think if we banned every single person who's ever tilted in any game, in a game that sort of promotes you being a little bit mad sometimes, we probably wouldn't have that many people playing anymore. I'd probably get banned, you'd probably get banned, the whole staff would get banned, you'd all get banned, no one would get to play, and then we'd have to make a whole nother game, which we are doing, but that is different. So yes, there's more stuff going into reporting. We are clamping down a little bit more, so do not worry. We have heard you, people who have complained about the reports. But at the same time, the feedback vengeance thing a lot of people have asked for, where it pops up and says, we banned that guy you reported, is not really a development priority. I wouldn't waste their time to do it right now, simply because there's so many other things we want to do. It's something we'd potentially add in the future, but until League of Legends added it recently, it was in a number of games for a few years, and guess what? No one really cared. So we're going to go that route for a little while longer and kind of do without. So keep reporting those users who need to be reported. We'll keep looking into it. We'll keep actioning those. But don't expect masses of feedback on that just yet, simply because it's not worth the time to make that. It's more worth the time to do stuff with the reports.
Yep.
Hope that makes sense. That should be Dev Diary number 6 concluded. We talked about a whole bunch of philosophy stuff. Like I say, if you missed the map stuff, check out last week's Dev Diary. We'll be back next week and hopefully have a little bit more stuff to talk about then and there. So yeah, thanks for coming on, dude.
Cool.